as if caught somewhere between life and death. He stepped down from his horse, between the rocks, in the dry red dust. A motionless body lay there. An Apache girl. She was tall, her body covered in bruises, dried blood forming dark patches across her skin. One of her legs was twisted at a horrifying angle. Her breathing came in broken, fragile gasps, so weak that it felt like just a slightly stronger gust of wind could carry away the last of her life. Her eyes were barely open, not asking for help, not begging, just a gaze. So empty it was unsettling, as if she had grown used to being abandoned. Lily stepped forward before Caleb could stop her. She knelt beside the girl, her small trembling hand reaching out to touch the injured arm. "Dad." Her voice choked. "Do not leave her." Caleb stood still. A stranger. A problem. A danger that could drag both father and daughter into the abyss. He knew that. But then, he saw the girl's eyes again. Not the eyes of an enemy, but the eyes of someone the world had cast aside. Caleb bent down. Without saying a word, he gently lifted her off the ground. She was lighter than he expected, as if the life inside her was already fading away. Lily quickly opened her bag and took out a small cloth, placing it under the girl's head. "Dad, we are going to save her, right?" Caleb clenched his jaw. Yes. But even as he said it, he knew very clearly. This moment would change their entire lives. Caleb Vance's house stood alone in the middle of a barren land. No neighbors, no laughter, only the wind, and the remnants of a life that had once been whole. The wooden door creaked as he nudged it open with his foot, carrying Asha inside. Lily hurried to clear a spot on the old bed near the fireplace, the warmest place in the small house. "Lay her here, Dad." Her voice was small, but firm. Caleb did as she said. He gently placed Asha down, hands that were used to hard labor now strangely clumsy when touching someone so close to death. For a brief moment, he suddenly remembered his late wife. The same body growing cold, the same eyes fading little by little, and that same suffocating feeling of being powerless to keep someone from slipping away. Caleb clenched his fists. "Not this time," he muttered, almost soundless. He got to work. Water was heated. Wounds were cleaned. Old cloth was torn into strips for bandages. Asha's injured leg made him pause. If it was not treated properly, she would never walk normally again. "Dad, is she going to die?" Lily stood behind him, her voice trembling. Caleb did not turn around. "Not if there is still something we can do." It was not a certainty, just a promise he had no choice but to keep. Night fell away, her hand still clutching a corner of Asha's blanket as if afraid she might disappear. Caleb sat across from them, not sleeping, not looking away, as if the moment he did, this woman would slip out of the world forever. Then suddenly, Asha moved, very slightly, but enough to freeze the entire room. Her eyes opened. Cold, alert, wild. The eyes of a warrior, awakening in a stranger's territory. Her hand twitched, searching for a weapon that was not there. Caleb did not step back, nor did he move closer. He only said one sentence, slowly, "You are here, and you are still alive." A long silence followed. Asha looked at him. No gratitude, no trust. Only one question, clear in her eyes. "Why am I not dead? And who are you?" The house was still silent, but it was no longer peaceful. It was the silence of two strangers, watching each other, measuring every move. Asha was more alert the next morning. She was no longer lying still. She sat up. Slow, painful, but determined. The moment Caleb turned his back to get some water, he heard a sound behind him, a soft rustle. He turned sharply. Asha was trying to stand. One leg could barely support her weight, but her eyes had lost none of their strength. "Sit down," Caleb said, his voice low but firm. She did not listen. She braced herself against the edge of the bed, trying to lift herself again, and then she fell. A heavy fall. But she did not cry out in pain. She only clenched her teeth, as if physical pain was nothing compared to what she had already endured. Caleb stepped forward, then stopped before touching her. "You are going to make it worse." Asha looked up. Her gaze was sharp as a blade. "Then leave me to it." No weakness, only defiance. Caleb gave a small nod. "All right." And he really stepped back. No forcing, just letting her choose. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes, and finally, Asha stopped, trying to stand, not because she gave up, but because her body no longer had the strength. Lily quietly walked over. She did not say a word. She simply placed a bowl of water in front of Asha, then gently pushed it closer to her. Asha looked down, then at Lily. A strange expression crossed her face, as if she could not understand why a child was not afraid of her. "Why are you doing this?" Her voice was hoarse. Lily hesitated slightly. "Because you are hurting. That was all. No complicated reason, no calculation, just because she saw someone in pain." Asha froze. A very brief moment, but enough for something inside her to crack. Caleb stood behind them, silently watching. He did not interfere, did not push, just let things unfold. Finally, Asha picked up the bowl. She drank, slowly, as if every sip of water was a luxury she was not used to receiving. Then she looked up, straight at Caleb. "What do you want from me?" The question dropped into the room like a blade. Caleb did not hesitate. Nothing. No demand. No condition. Just an empty answer, yet heavy enough to leave Asha unsure how to respond. She looked at him longer, as if searching for a lie. But there was none. And that was what unsettled her the most, because for the first time in her life, she did not know what to guard herself against anymore. The days that followed passed. So slowly it felt like you could hear the wood cracking under the heat of the sun. Asha no longer tried to stand, but she did not lie still like a patient either. She observed everything. The door, the distance from the bed to the window, where Caleb placed his knife each night, even the sound of his footsteps as he moved through the house. The habit of someone who had lived too long surrounded by danger. Caleb knew, but he said nothing. He simply went on with his work, fixing the barn roof, checking the fence, chopping firewood, as if nothing inside the house had changed, even though, in truth, everything had. Lily was the only one who broke that silence. Each day, she sat a little closer to Asha. She did not ask much. She did not dare disturb her. She simply stayed. One afternoon, as sunlight slanted through the window, Lily carefully placed a damp cloth on Asha's forehead. "You are going to feel better soon." Asha looked at her for a long time, then suddenly asked, "You are not afraid of me?" Lily blinked. "Afraid of what?" Asha paused. The question was so simple. She did not know how to answer it. Afraid of this body. Afraid of how different she was. Afraid of her for being Apache. The things she had faced her entire life. But here, there was none of that. Asha turned her head away. Her voice dropped, dry and low. "People like me do not stay anywhere for long." Lily did not fully understand, but she still shook her head. "Dad says, if someone needs help, we help them." Once again, that same unconditional kindness. That evening, Caleb sat at the table, sharpening his knife. Asha spoke first. "You saved the wrong person." Caleb did not look up. "Maybe." A pause. Then Asha continued, her voice flat, emotionless, as if she were talking about someone else. "I used to be a warrior. I fought for my tribe. But when I broke my leg and could not fight anymore, I was seen as a burden." The blade in Caleb's hand stopped, and they left me behind. No anger, just a truth, too familiar to her. Asha looked up, straight at Caleb. "In my world, those who are no longer useful do not deserve to live." The room fell completely silent. The fire in the hearth crackled softly. Caleb finally looked at her, not with pity, just a calm, steady gaze. This is not your world. A simple sentence. But it struck Asha harder than any comfort ever could. Because for the first time, there was a place where her worth was not measured by whether she was still useful. Asha said nothing. But in her eyes, something began to shift, and she did not yet realize that was the most dangerous thing of all. Thank you for being here. If this story brings back something from your past, you can subscribe to the channel so we can find each other again. That morning, for the first time, the house held a different sound. Not the wind, but footsteps. Slow, heavy, but steadier than the day before. Caleb was fixing the fence when he paused. He turned back. Asha was standing at the doorway, one hand braced against the wooden frame, one leg still weak, but her eyes were no longer those of someone waiting to die. You should not be standing for long, Caleb said. Asha did not answer. She looked at the fence, the rotting wood, the loose bindings, then she stepped down, one step at a time, painful. But she did not stop. Lily hurried after her, worried. You are going to fall. Asha shook her head. Then, without a word, she bent down, picked up a piece of rope, and started tying the fence back together. Her movements were firm, clean, precise. Caleb stood still, watching, not interfering. After a while, he walked over and handed her a new piece of wood. No explanation. No thanks. Just two people working together. For the first time, in the days that followed, everything began to change. Slowly, but clearly. Asha no longer stayed inside. She went out, tended the livestock, repaired the barn roof, even taught Lily how to listen to the land, how to sense when strangers were nearby. Do not look with your eyes first, Asha said softly to Lily. Listen. Lily tried to follow, her eyes lighting up as if she had discovered a whole new world. From a distance, Caleb saw it, and he realized she was not just healing, she was becoming part of this place. But that was when the trouble began to appear. One afternoon, Caleb stopped his horse on the way back. He saw them. Footprints. Not from livestock. 4 people. Fresh tracks. They circled the land, then disappeared. Caleb looked up. His expression changed. That night, when everything sank into silence, Asha was awake before he was. She stood by the door, no weapon in hand, but her entire body was tense, like a wire about to snap. They found us, she said, without turning around. Caleb stepped closer. Who are they? A pause. Then Asha answered, her voice low, cold, the kind of men who never let anything slip out of their hands. The wind howled louder outside. Lily slept in her room, unaware that the home she had just begun to feel was warm, was becoming a target. Asha clenched her fists. For the first time since she woke, she was not afraid for herself, but for the people behind her. That night, no one slept. The wind howled harder, slamming against the wooden walls like relentless warnings. Caleb sat at the table, his gun laid out in front of him. Asha stood near the door, her eyes locked on the darkness outside. 2 people, 2 different worlds. But now, the same danger. You know they will come back, Caleb said. Asha gave a slight nod. They never leave anything unfinished. A long silence followed. Then she spoke, calm and steady. Then I will leave before sunrise. Caleb looked up. No. The answer came faster than thought. Asha turned to him, her gaze sharpening. You do not understand. If I stay, they will kill you. And they will hurt the girl. Caleb stood up. And if you leave, they may still come back. And you will die out there alone. Asha clenched her fists. That is my problem. No. Caleb stepped closer. It is not just yours anymore. The words froze the air between them. Asha looked at him, for the first time, not with suspicion, but with conflict. You do not owe me anything, she said, her voice lowering. Do not turn this into a mistake. Caleb did not answer right away. He simply stood there, steady, unmoving, and that made something inside Asha break loose. I have lived my whole life among strong men. Her voice cracked. But all they know is how to take, how to claim, how to abandon when they no longer need something. She stepped forward. Her eyes burned. I have longed for a real man. Her voice echoed through the small house, like a confession she had never allowed herself to speak. Not the strongest, not the most ruthless, but someone who stays when things become dangerous. The room fell silent. Only the wind remained. Caleb looked at her. For a long time, then he spoke, slowly. Then you found the wrong man. Asha froze. 1 second. 2. But then, because I am not leaving. He stepped forward, standing beside her. If you stay, we face this together. If you go, I will still be standing here. No promises. Just a truth that could not be shaken. Asha looked at him. This time, she was no longer searching for a lie. She was searching for a reason to believe. And right then, a dry sound echoed from the yard. Footsteps. Slow. Intentional. Asha turned sharply toward the door. Her eyes changed instantly. Cold. Ready. They are here. Caleb did not turn. He simply reached out and took hold of his gun and stood beside her. Side by side, for the first time, Asha did not step back, because this time, she was not fighting to survive. She was fighting to protect a place she did not want to lose. The door burst open. The wind rushed in, carrying dust and the scent of danger. 4 figures stood in the yard. Harsh faces. They walked forward like men who already knew they would take what they came for. The one in the middle smirked. Finally found you. His eyes locked onto Asha. Not like he was looking at a person, but like he was looking at something that had gone missing. Caleb stepped forward, placing himself between them and the house. Turn back. The man let out a low laugh. What do you think you are protecting? No answer. But that silence was the clearest answer of all. Everything happened fast. Gunshots rang out. 1 shot. 2 shots. Caleb fired first, forcing them to scatter, but their numbers and aggression quickly pushed him back. 1 circled behind. 1 moved straight in. Another kept his eyes locked on Asha. Come with me, he said, his voice low. You do not belong here. Asha stood still. No retreat, no reply. Only her fists tightening. In her mind, 2 paths appeared. Run, like she always had to survive. Or stay, and fight, for something she had never had in her life. A home. Caleb was forced back another step. Inside, Lily cried out. That sound tore through the last of Asha's hesitation. She turned sharply, looked inside, at the trembling child, then at Caleb, the man still standing there, even knowing he could die. A moment. So brief, but enough to change everything. Asha bent down, picked up the axe by the door. When she stood again, her eyes had changed. No longer someone abandoned, but someone who chose to stay. One of the men lunged forward. Fast. Brutal. But Asha was faster. She pivoted, dodged the strike, and countered. 1 blow. Clean. Final. No hesitation. He dropped. The second man froze for a split second. Just 1 second. But enough for him to understand. This woman was no longer prey. Caleb took that moment. Another shot. The second man fell. The last one looked around, at his fallen companions. At Asha. At Caleb. Then, he stepped back, turned, and disappeared into the darkness. Silence returned. But this time, it was not the same. Caleb breathed heavily, lowered his gun. Asha still stood there. The axe in her hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from everything that had just happened. The door flew open. Lily ran out. Without hesitation, she threw her arms around Asha. Are you okay? Asha froze. Her entire body went still. Then slowly, she lowered the axe. Her other hand, trembling as it came to rest on Lily's shoulder. A very gentle touch. But the first touch, without defense behind it. Caleb watched, said nothing, but in his eyes, everything had changed. And Asha, she looked down at the child holding on to her. For the first time in her life, someone was holding her. Not to keep her captive, but because they did not want to lose her. Dawn came slowly. The first light slipped through the cracked wooden boards, falling across a yard still marked by dust and the remnants of last night's fight. Everything was quiet, but no longer cold. Caleb stood outside, repairing the broken fence. His movements were steady, familiar, the way he kept life from falling apart. Behind him, the door opened. Asha stepped out, slower than before, but no longer unsteady. She stopped, looked around. The barren land, the patched fence, the small house, far from perfect, but a place where for the first time in her life, no one demanded she be useful, just to exist. Lily ran out and took her hand. You are not leaving, right? A simple question, but one Asha had been avoiding for days. She did not answer right away. She only looked at Caleb. The man still had his back turned, but it was clear he was waiting. No pressure, just waiting for her to choose. Asha took a step forward, then another, until she stood beside him. Silence filled the space. Then she spoke, her voice no longer cold, no longer guarded. This is my home, if you will have me. Caleb paused. He turned, his eyes meeting hers. And this time, there was no distance. He gave a slight shake of his head. That is not how it works. He reached out, took her hand. Firm, warm. This is your home. Lily laughed. A bright, clear sound, as if there had never been war, never been loss. Time passed. The farm began to change. The fence grew stronger, the barn more orderly, and inside the small house, there was always light. Asha was no longer the one being saved. She was the one who stood guard when danger came, the one who taught Lily to be strong, the one who shared every burden with Caleb. And then one quiet afternoon, no grand celebration, just the three of them, standing on the land they had protected together. Caleb took Asha's hand. No grand words, just something simple. Stay with me for the rest of my life. Asha looked at him, no hesitation. Yes, no wedding dress, no ceremony. But when Caleb placed the simple ring on her finger, it was the first time in Asha's life she had been chosen, not for her strength, but for who she was. Lily wrapped her arms around both of them, beaming. From a woman left behind to die among the rocks, Asha had become a wife and a mother to a child who had trusted her from the very first moment. And Caleb, he realized something he thought he had lost forever. Not the past, but a family. And sometimes, the act of kneeling down to save someone at the edge of death is the very thing that saves your own life. Epilogue. There are people who carry a past so heavy, it feels impossible to move forward. It is not that they lack strength. It is that they lack a reason to believe they deserve a different life. And then, love appears not loud, not perfect, but sincere enough to make them stay. Love does not save them all at once. It happens little by little, pulling them out of the shadows of memory, teaching them to trust again, to open their hearts again. Because sometimes, the strongest thing is not forgetting the past, but having someone hold your hand and say, we can still begin again. It has truly been an honor to share this story with you, the wonderful audience of Wild West storytelling. I sincerely hope that wherever